Hello, friends. How are you all? I hope you are doing great and taking care of yourself. Before we get into the hands on session of how to create the tables, how to define the columns, I preferably feel that you should know what are constraints in Oracle database and what are its types. These constraints are nothing but a little rules which help you to make sure the data which you are storing in the table against the columns are accurate, and there is a data integrity maintained throughout that. So without much further delay, let's break down these constraints. So friends, let's explore types of constraints in Oracle database. So we have check constraint, default constraint, unique constraint, foreign key constraints, primary key constraint, and the last one is not nil constraint. Let's break down these all constraints one by one. So now let's first talk about what are constraints. So constraints in Oracle is essential for maintaining data integrity and ensuring that your database operates smoothly. Why we need this? Because we want to ensure that the data which we are holding is reliable, accurate by enforcing certain business rules. In short, we want to make sure the data which we are holding in our tables against particular column is making sense. It should not hold a data which does not relates to anything or makes any sense. It should always hold a data which makes some sense when you read it. Where we can define these constraints? We can define these constraints at the column level as well as the table level. Now, coming back to the types of constraints, we are going to explore these each and every constraint by taking a simple example of book library. So now I'm going to define two tables called as book table and an author table. The book table has a book ID, author table has an author ID. The book table has a book name. The book table also has the price column. Also it has something called as an uh, author. Okay, but the author table is now having a book ID, the author name, the also it would have something called as an publisher name, right? Exactly. So now what is this not null constraints? The purpose is to make sure that the record stored against the column is always having value and is never empty. So when I talk about the book ID in a book table, that book ID can't be empty or it can't be null. It should have some ID which uniquely identifies it. That's where we come to our next constraint, which is a unique constraint, which purpose is to make sure one record is distinct from another records and no duplicates are stored. Coming to our third constraint, which is primary key constraint. So in books table, I'm defining book ID has a primary ID and it is a unique record, and that primary key can't be null. It's like a fingerprint which helps me to identify what is that book ID and to which book name it refers to. Coming to the foreign key constraint is where we have a book ID in the books table and we are referring that book ID in the authors table to basically connect the two tables, which is book table and the author table, because the book table is holding an author name as one of its column. So now I have established the connection between these two tables, and the foreign key purpose is to make sure the relationship between two tables is maintained, which is ensured by that value stored in primary table matches the value stored in the foreign table or a reference table. check constraint. So let's take an example of the price column, right? And the price of the book can't be can never be zero. It would always have some value, and that's where I'm going to put a check constraint on that column saying that the price of the book can't should be always greater than zero. So what does it says? The purpose is to make sure it accepts the data value which you have defined as a part of condition, and it satisfies it. Default constraint, it's like fallback condition. When no value is provided, it will take the default value which you have defined for a column to take in. For an example, let's say I have a publisher year, right? And I am defining a value. Say if I don't have any the publisher year of a book, it's going to take a default value which I'm defining as 1999. So if we don't supply any value for a book which we are holding into the books table, and that's where it goes and takes a default value of the publisher year which is 1999. I hope by end of this video you have got an idea what are constraints, why we need that, what are different types of constraints, and why these constraints play a very important role to ensure the data integrity is maintained within our database. So if you feel this video has really helpful to understand the concept of constraints, so do like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload the next video on hands-on session of how to design a table, create the table, what all columns should be there, how would you define the constraints, and so on. So until then, take care. Bye bye.